I didn't come back to Atlanta for love. Hell, I didn't even come back for peace. I just needed a reset. A place to breathe. To forget the way he said goodbye back in Charlotte, like I was an extra chapter in a book he already closed. So when my cousin Tasha told me I should check out her church, I said no before she even finished the sentence. But somehow Sunday morning came, and there I was sitting in the back row of New Mercy Church, arms crossed, heart harder than a parking lot pew. It wasn't the kind of church I grew up in. This one had lights, smoke machines, and screens big enough to watch the Super Bowl on. The choir sounded like a Grammy-nominated R&B group, and the people looked like they had money, therapy, and soft skin. But nothing prepared me for the moment he walked up on that stage. But before I share the next part, do me a favor, like this video. Drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, because baby, this story? It's just getting started. Yeah, like I was saying, nothing prepared me for the moment Pastor Elijah Carter walked up on that stage. Tall, smooth brown skin, waves you could drown in. His voice, it didn't preach. It pulled. I swear, the way he said, "Turn with me to Romans 8, made me want to confess sins I hadn't even committed yet. He didn't yell. He didn't dance. He just talked. And it felt like he was talking to me. Some of us came in here dressed in survival, he said, scanning the crowd. But God didn't call you to survive. He called you to live. And if you're still breathing, there's more ahead than behind. I blinked, because I swear his eyes met mine when he said that. Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe I wanted something deeper to believe in. But after service, when I tried to sneak out without the whole awkward new guest attention, I felt a tap on my shoulder. Hey, a voice said. I turned. It was him, Pastor Elijah. Up close. He smelled like cedar and gospel. He looked like trouble with a cross around his neck. You're new, he said, smiling. I'm Elijah. What's your name? Jordan, I replied, swallowing down nerves. Just visiting. You ever need to talk, he said, and his eyes didn't move from mine. My office is always open. Don't be a stranger. And with that, he was gone. But my heart? Yeah, that man took it with him. I didn't plan on going back. I told myself Sunday was enough. That it was just a moment. That I was projecting my loneliness onto a man doing his job. But by Wednesday evening, I was back in one of those stadium-style seats, acting like I came for midweek Bible study. Truth is, I was just hoping he'd notice me again. And he did. After service, he was shaking hands, smiling, praying for folks like a man baptized in patience. But when his eyes found mine across the room, it was different. Intentional. Lingering. He gave me a small nod, barely there, but I felt it like thunder in my chest. I lingered after everyone else filed out. My cousin had already gone to her car, texting me that she'd meet me at home. I told her I'd left something inside. Technically, I had, my common sense. The hallway to his office was quiet. Still smelled like vanilla and leather, like secrets waiting to be spilled. His door was cracked open. He was sitting at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. The top 2 buttons of his shirt undone. Jordan, he said like he'd been waiting for me. Come in. I stepped in, heart thudding like a warning. Wasn't sure you'd come back, he said, eyes scanning me slowly. I wasn't either, I admitted. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. There was something else there. Tension. Curiosity. Maybe the same questions I was scared to say out loud. I meant what I said Sunday, he murmured. If you ever want to talk. I sat across from him, knees close, room too small. I guess I don't even know what to say, I confessed. Been feeling lost. Like I'm trying to start over, but my past keeps showing up wearing my skin. His eyes softened. You've been through something. I loved someone once. He left, I said quickly before I could talk myself out of it. And it made me feel like maybe I'm too much or not enough. Or both. Pastor Elijah leaned forward, elbows on his desk, voice low. Let me tell you something, Jordan. God doesn't make mistakes. People do. But you. He paused. You're not too much. You're just enough for someone who can handle your fullness. That did it. My throat tightened. My chest ached. I looked away. Then I felt it, his hand. On top of mine. Warm. Strong. No rings on his fingers, just a pulse that matched the tension between us. When I looked back at him, he was already watching me. Is this wrong? I whispered. I think we both know we crossed that line the moment you walked into this room, he said quietly. And just like that, silence swallowed the rest of the words. We didn't kiss. Not yet. But the air between us? It was louder than anything I'd ever heard in church. His hand stayed on mine longer than it should have. And I let it. There was a storm in my chest, quiet on the outside but loud enough inside to drown out any Sunday school lesson I'd ever heard. We didn't speak for a few seconds. Just stared. But his thumb started moving, gently tracing circles against my skin like he was memorizing me one line at a time. I shouldn't, he said, voice husky, barely above a whisper. Then don't, I replied, even though we both knew we already had. There's something about being wanted by someone who fights it. It's not just desire, it's danger wrapped in restraint. And it only made me want him more. He let go of my hand, finally. Stood up. Walked around his desk like he needed space. But he didn't go far. You confuse me, he said, folding his arms. I've been doing this work for years. I've counseled couples, buried grandmothers, held hands with addicts, prayed over cheating husbands. But no one's ever walked into my office and made me feel. He stopped himself. Feel what? I asked, standing now too. His jaw tightened. Like I could risk it all. We were only inches apart. I could smell his cologne, clean, woodsy masculine. I could see the way his throat moved when he swallowed. I could feel the gravity between us, like the room itself was leaning in. Elijah, I breathed. And that was it. He stepped forward, slow but sure, one hand coming to the side of my face. His fingers were firm but careful, like he was touching something sacred. His eyes searched mine one last time, for permission, for forgiveness, for control. But when he found nothing stopping him, he kissed me. Soft at first, testing the edges. Then deeper, hungrier, like he was tasting years of restraint. His hands moved to my waist, pulling me closer. I grabbed his shirt, fingers fisting the fabric like I was scared he'd stop. He didn't. For once, he didn't hold back. Not his breath. Not his body. Not his need. We stumbled against the wall of his office, knocking down a framed quote about integrity. I laughed. He kissed the sound out of my mouth. Still think this is a bad idea? I asked between breaths. He rested his forehead against mine, eyes closed. It's the worst idea, he whispered. But I don't care. We swore it would never happen again. That kiss? The wall? The hands? All of it? A one-time slip, born from stress, loneliness, temptation. We told ourselves what guilty people say to sleep better. It didn't mean anything. But the thing about secrets is, they don't stay quiet. Not when there's chemistry thick enough to choke on. The next Sunday, I walked into church like nothing happened. Wore my best shirt. Sat in my usual seat. Sang along. Smiled at Sister Jean like I hadn't just made out with her pastor against a wall. But I couldn't stop looking at him. And he couldn't stop looking back. He preached about forgiveness that day. About inner wars and thorns in the flesh. About Paul, and how God's grace is sufficient, even when we fall. It felt like he was preaching straight to me. No, it felt like he was preaching from me. After service, I didn't even try to play it cool. I waited. I lingered. I slipped down that same hallway again, like a moth to the very flame that already burned me. This time, he locked the door behind me. Jordan, he said, like a prayer and a warning all at once. I know, I whispered. There was no talk. No guilt. Just mouths crashing. Hands pulling. Heartbeats racing like we were running from God himself. This time, it wasn't just a kiss. It was everything. Shirt buttons undone. Belt hitting the floor. His breath in my ear saying my name like it was something holy. His hands gripping my hips like he was scared I'd disappear. We moved like we'd been doing this forever, like it was muscle memory instead of sin. Afterward, we didn't speak. Just laid there on the small couch in his office, tangled and trembling. Then he said it, barely audible. I don't know how to stop this. Neither did I. The first time was lust. The second time was need. But the third? The third time felt like love. And that scared me more than hellfire ever could. We started meeting on Wednesdays. Prayer meeting nights were perfect cover. People came and went. Nobody asked questions when I slipped behind the church building or hung around after everyone left. It became our ritual. He'd open the door just enough to let me in. and I'd slide into a world where rules bent and hearts whispered things our mouths couldn't dare speak out loud. That night, he didn't even wait to close the blinds. "You've been on my mind all week," he said, locking the door behind me. I dropped my backpack and stepped into his space. Same. The way he touched me wasn't frantic anymore. It was slow, intentional, like he was learning me. Not just my body, but the parts one didn't show anyone else. My silence, my doubt, my need to be wanted. Afterward, we didn't rush. We laid on that ugly old couch, my head on his chest, his fingers brushing through my hair like he wanted to keep me in some quiet corner of his world. "You know we're playing with fire," I said. "I know," he replied. "But when I'm with you, it doesn't feel like burning. It feels like breathing." I looked up at him, heart hammering. "What are we doing, Elijah?" He didn't answer. But the way his arms tightened around me told me enough. We weren't just messing around anymore. This wasn't sin for sport. It was something else. Something dangerous. I left late that night, hoodie up, avoiding every streetlight. By Thursday morning, I woke up to a text from a number I didn't recognize. "You think nobody sees you? You think he's yours? Watch your back." Church used to feel like home. Now it felt like a crime scene. Every pew, every choir robe, every amen felt like it was laced with suspicion. I could feel it, someone knew. Someone was watching. Pastor Elijah acted normal. Too normal. The way he smiled during the announcements, the calmness when he shook hands after service. He was masking it well. But me? I was unraveling. That text haunted me. I didn't tell him about it. Not yet. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe it was a prank. But when I walked into church on Sunday and Sister Lillian gave me that long, too knowing look, something in my stomach flipped. I sat in the back. Far back. Away from the choir. Away from the pulpit. But not far enough to escape him. Our eyes locked during the sermon. And in that split second, there was a whole conversation. He knew I was scared. I knew he was too. Still, his voice stayed steady. "The eyes of the Lord are in every place, keeping watch on the evil and the good." He stared right at me. After service, I tried to leave quickly. I kept my head down, ignored the side glances, moved fast toward the exit. Then a hand grabbed my wrist. "Elijah," I hissed. "Not here." He didn't care. He pulled me into the baptismal room and shut the door. "What's going on?" I showed him the message. His face changed. The calm broke. "Do you think it's someone from the church?" I asked. "I don't know. But we need to stop, just for a while." I froze. "Stop us?" His jaw clenched. He wasn't looking at me, he was looking past me. Like he was already building a wall to protect whatever was left of his sanity. Then he said, "I can't lose everything I've built." I swallowed hard. "So I'm a threat now?" "No," he whispered, finally meeting my eyes. "You're everything. That's the problem. You ever try to pray with the person you're sinning with? It's wild." That Sunday evening, I told Elijah I needed to see him. Not for sex. Not for touching. Just to talk. To be near him without the world watching. He hesitated at first. But then, just after evening service, he texted. "Prayer closet. 8:30, come alone." It sounded like a trap. But God help me, I went anyway. The prayer closet wasn't really a closet. More like a tiny, dim-lit room behind the altar with 2 chairs, a dusty Bible, and a bunch of kneeling mats. I slipped in quietly. Heart pounding. He was already there. No collar. No Bible. Just him, Elijah, the man, not Pastor Elijah. He looked tired. Not physically. Spiritually. Like this secret was bleeding him slowly. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, "I've been asking God to take this away. The feelings. The craving. You." I stayed quiet. "But every time I see you," he continued, "I forget every verse I've ever memorized." My throat tightened. "You think I planned this? That I walked into your office that first day thinking, 'Let me seduce the man of God'? No. I think it just happened. And I hate that I don't want it to stop." He reached for my hand. We didn't kiss. We didn't touch beyond that. Just fingers locking. Quiet. Heavy breathing. Then, softly, he said, "Let's pray." That's when I almost laughed. But he was serious. We knelt side by side. Not touching, not talking. He started praying out loud. At first, it was all, "Lord, forgive me. And help me resist temptation." But then the words changed. He prayed for me. For my heart. For my peace. For the part of me that had always felt like love was something I wasn't allowed to ask for. That's when I started crying. Because I'd never had someone pray for me like that. Not my parents, not my exes, not even me. After that night, I knew something had shifted. It wasn't just lust. It wasn't just secrecy. It was something deeper. Which meant it was about to get way more dangerous. The church was turning 10. 10 years of sermons, outreach, souls saved, and a scandal waiting to happen. Elijah invited me to the anniversary dinner. Not in secret, publicly. Everyone's welcome, he said, loud enough in the group chat to make it sound casual. But that text he sent me privately? Sit near the back. I'll find you. It was held at a fancy downtown hotel. Candlelight, gospel saxophone in the background, people in their Sunday best. The air reeked of cologne, ambition, and fake laughter. He looked ridiculous. In the best way. Sharp navy suit, no tie, collar open, beard shaped just right. I had to remind myself to breathe. He was magnetic, floating through the room like he owned it. To them, he was the anointed man of God. To me, he was the man who whispered my name like a prayer when no one else was around. I sat quietly with a plate I barely touched, eyes trailing him like he was the only thing that mattered in a room full of praise and power. That's when she showed up. Her. Janine. Board member. Choir leader. Widowed last year. She slid into the seat beside him like she belonged there. And he let her. He smiled. He leaned in when she talked. He even laughed, the laugh he gave me. I felt heat crawl up my chest. Jealousy, confusion, shame. Were we just a secret convenience? At one point, he stood to give his speech. Talked about commitment. Faithfulness. The covenant between shepherd and flock. The whole room clapped. I almost choked. When he finally came over to me, hours later, everyone was leaving and the fake smiles were fading. You good? He asked. I stared at him. She looked good next to you. He blinked. Don't do that. I'm not your toy, Elijah. I'm not your midweek therapy session. Then what are you? I stood up, chest pounding. I was someone who thought you saw me. Not just my body. Me. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. I do. But the thing is, I wasn't sure I believed that anymore. I walked away that night, but my heart stayed in that ballroom, watching him laugh with her. There are two types of silence. The kind that calms you, and the kind that warns you something's about to break. That night, I felt the second kind. It had been a week since the anniversary dinner. I hadn't texted Elijah. He hadn't called. We were playing chicken with our emotions, both of us waiting to see who'd flinch first. Then Sunday morning, I walked into church and his eyes met mine. And just like that, the ice melted. He preached that day like a man possessed. Sweating, pacing, voice breaking in all the right places. I couldn't even tell you what the sermon was about. I was too busy drowning in every stolen glance. After the service, I was headed out when I felt it, his hand grazing mine, quick and subtle. He didn't say a word, just turned and walked toward his office. I followed. The hallway was quiet, lights low, people lingering outside in the foyer. He didn't wait for me, just opened his door, stepped in, and left it unlocked. That should have been my warning. Inside, I barely had time to speak. He grabbed me like he'd been holding his breath all week. Kissed me hard, desperate, like he hated how much he needed it. Clothes didn't fully come off. It was rushed. Reckless. Raw. Hands on walls. Whispers. Heat. Shame. God help me, he muttered against my neck. But we both knew he wasn't the one helping us in that moment. We collapsed onto the couch, breathing heavy. Silent again. That's when we heard it. A gasp. We froze. Then the creak of the door swinging fully open. I turned my head slowly. And there, standing in the doorway, was Deacon Martin's wife. Wide-eyed, hand over her mouth. Her Bible clutched like a weapon. Elijah didn't even move. He just whispered, "Shit." And I knew everything had just changed. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, replaying the look on her face. The silence. The possibility. By morning, it was all over the congregation. Elijah and a man. In his office. Pastor? No way. The rumors spread like wildfire, but no names were said, not yet. Still, I felt the eyes. The whispers. The sudden invitations to pray. Elijah called me at 6 a.m. Stay away from church today. Are they going to fire you? I don't know, he said. But they're calling a meeting after the service. I showed up anyway. Sat in the back like a shadow. He stepped up to the pulpit. No notes. No robe. No smile. Just a man with a broken heart and the weight of a lie finally too heavy to carry. I've sinned, he said. Gasps. I've broken your trust. Gasps turned to murmurs. I crossed a line I never should have crossed with someone in this room. Now the murmurs were thunder. I won't name them. I won't defend it. I'll just say this. I loved and I still love. But I failed you all. Silence. Then Janine stood up and clapped. A slow, painful, loud clap. Then another person joined. Then another. Until the sanctuary was filled with applause. Not out of approval, but out of shock, grief, maybe even respect. And me? I sat there, heart pounding, tears threatening. He didn't look at me once. But he didn't have to. That silence, it was his goodbye. That was 3 months ago. Elijah stepped down. He moved to Atlanta. I never saw him again. But sometimes in the quiet of my apartment, I reread that last text he sent. You weren't a sin. You were the truth I was too afraid to live. And maybe that's enough. Maybe love doesn't always have to survive to be real. Sometimes it just has to change you. If you felt anything reading this, show love. Like this video, comment your thoughts. Was Elijah brave or a coward? Subscribe and smash that notification bell because stories like this, we don't shy away from the messy, the holy, and the human. Till next time, stay real. Stay raw. Stay you.